on GLP-1s like Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, and you're still training like you did in your 20s, here's why you might feel wrecked by the end of the week and end up not training as much as you should do. First off, here's the good news. Whilst on GLP-1s, you can train less, you can get stronger, and you can recover better. There are certain rules that you have to follow. Let's dive straight in. Rule number one is to earn your volume. This means you can't just go into the gym like you did in your 20s, train for 90 minutes to 2 hours at a time, doing every single muscle, doing every single exercise you can think of, and then you got 10 minutes before you're meant to leave the gym and you think of 4 more exercises that you want to do. Most people end up doing delts and abs there that they don't really need. There is such a thing as too many sets and reps. There is such a thing as junk volume. These are the exercises that no longer have a positive ROI for you. You've already sent the signal to your muscle to grow, maintain, or to break down from doing too much volume. You see it all the time. Guys doing high reps with poor form. CrossFit is very, very guilty of this, but so are commercial bodybuilders. Guys that are doing 20 reps of delts, 5 sets at a time, and then going on to do 5 other delt exercises as well. Poor form, you're breaking down because you're tired or you've never really learned how to do the exercise correctly to begin with. Or you're knackered from what you've already done in the gym because you've done too many things. And you're trying to do everything in one session. So every session should follow a simple structure for you to earn this volume. This means starting off where you're at the right level, and then increasing that volume over time, because you have to give your body something to adapt to. You have to give it a new challenge. If you do the exact same thing over and over again, even if you're just trying to maintain the amount of muscle that you have in your frame, if you don't give it something to adapt to, then you're going to go backwards. You're also going to get bored as fuck and you're not going to want to go to the gym anymore. First off, here's how you know if you're earning the right amount of volume. It's the volume you can recover from for your next session and the session after. Let's say you train 3 times a week, because whilst you're on GLP-1s, you don't really need to train more than that. But let's say you do whole body on the Monday, your hamstrings feel tight as fuck by the Wednesday, your glutes are a little bit spicy as well, your lower back's fucked, and your chest feels so tight that when you stretch out, it feels like your rib cage is going to crack open. You've not recovered. But if you're still feeling that way by the Friday, you've done way too much on that Monday and you didn't recover properly in between those sessions. If over time you've still got that ache in your muscles, that stiffness, DOMS as we call it, delayed onset muscle soreness, then you may be overtraining and under-recovering. That means not giving your body the right amount of fuel, which you may not be doing because you're on GLP-1s and you haven't got the appetite, but you're doing too much in the session and not enough outside of the session. So here's how I would structure a session for guys in their 40s and over on GLP-1s to make sure that they are building strength, maintaining muscle, and supporting the fat loss effects that they're getting from the drug. First off is a heavy indicator lift. This is either a full body lift or a big upper or lower body lift that you will use to track your strength over time. If you don't progress on this exercise, then you may not be recovering enough. The big indicator lift you're going to do for 3 to 6 reps, and ideally every week or every couple of weeks you've got a little bit more weight on the bar, or you're doing 1 extra rep than you were previously doing before. What I do with most of my clients is we build that indicator lift up to a heavy round of 3. We don't go for 1 rep maxes because I don't feel they're particularly relevant for the general population. We go for a heavy round of 3, and then we do a back off set afterwards that's either 6 reps or 9 reps or maybe even up to 12. We take 10 to 20% of the weight off, depending where the energy is on the day. And if you're not too sure what you do here, it's either a big full body lift like a deadlift or a squat, or a big upper body lift like a bench press or a weighted pull-up or some sort of row, or even another machine-based lower body lift, because you have to train for where you're at and what you want to achieve. Squats and deadlifts, funnily enough, aren't for everyone, and many of you are going to argue with me in the comments about that, and that's fine, I'll argue back. It's anything that we can use over a long period of time where we can vary the tool that you're using. So if you're not familiar with conjugate style training like Westside Barbell do, I would just take 20 minutes to go watch a video or read an article from Louis Simmons about that. I think it's an amazing way to train. It's pretty much proven to be great for powerlifters, but I think there's things we can take away for the rest of us, for the general populations, the commuters, the weekend warriors. And the thing I've taken from that mainly is to train for a heavy round without going to a 1 rep max, do a little back off set for a bit more volume and for a second set that we can progress on, and do the right exercises that we can vary over time. So let's say squat for an example. We can do a barbell squat. We can change the bar. We can change the positioning of the bar. We can squat down to a box. We can do different styles. We can do wider leg. We can do closer leg. You can even switch into single leg variations if you love Bulgarian squats, and if you love Bulgarian split squats, get your head checked because there's something seriously wrong with you. But anything where we can vary the lift that we're doing every 3 to 6 weeks to make sure the body's not getting stagnant doing that exercise and it's something new to adapt to. I love a safety bar box squat. That's my favorite lower body or full body lift to do. But I love that so much that I can do that pretty much every single session, and that's not going to help me over a long period of time. I have to give my body something new to adapt to. We can get lazy with these things. If you're doing bench press because you love bench press, you can do flat bench, you can do incline bench, you can do dumbbells, you can change your grip on the bar that you're using. If you have a very well kitted gym, you can change the type of bar that you're using. You can do it in a machine, you can do it with straps, with bands, with chains. There are many, many different ways to progress on a certain exercise, but you don't just want to stick with the same method over a long period of time. Over a shorter period of time, yes, let's try and build as much weight on the exercise as we can, and then as things start plateauing a little bit, we vary the piece of kit or the angle or the type of exercise that you're doing there while still hitting the same muscles. After your heavy indicator lift, assuming you're probably going to do lower body like a squat or a deadlift, we then go on to a push and a pull superset for your upper body. So this means doing something for your chest or pushing weight overhead, anything that's going away from your body, followed with a pull exercise, so anything that's coming towards your body. You can superset a chest press with some sort of vertical pull, or you can superset it with a horizontal pull. You can superset a shoulder or overhead or high angle incline press that's going away from your body with something coming towards like a row or pull up again. We can pick one exercise and do it for 3 to 6 weeks and then vary how we're doing that exercise. So again, let's go with that dumbbell press. You can do flat dumbbell, you can do 15 degree, you can do 30 degree. You can even switch it into a high incline to hit more delts than you are hitting chest. You can do it in a machine. You can go back to a bar. We can use all different kinds of equipment. In terms of pulling, we could do heavy rows. We could do chest supported row. We can do barbell or dumbbell row. We can do weighted pull-ups if you're strong enough to do so. If you're not strong enough to do so, we can do pull downs. And you switch it up every 3 to 6 weeks. This I wouldn't be trying to train all out like 3 to 6 reps. I'd be going more for that standard 8 to 12 hypertrophy range. This means you do the exercise for 8 reps. And as you progress, you try to lift more weight. And then you try to lift that same amount of weight for 9 reps, 10 reps, 11 reps, 12 reps. And once you get to 12 reps later down the line, you go back to a heavier weight and go straight back down to 8 reps again. People look at 8 to 12 and they kind of think that they have the choice of what to do there. I could do 8 today. Oh, I feel a bit weak. I could do 12. No. Go for 8. Get it up to a heavy 8 that you know you couldn't do any more reps for. And over time, get that extra rep. And once you're doing it for 12 reps, time to increase the weight. A posterior chain movement, especially in guys, your posterior chain, that's your back, your glutes, your hamstrings, is under-trained. We are sitting down pretty much all day. I see guys that ride their bike to the train station, sit on the train, fight for their seat on the train, ride their bike over to the office, sit in the office all day, don't go out for a walk for lunch, do the exact same thing on the way home, and then they sit at home all night. And they wonder why their back's tight. They wonder why it hurts when they pick up their kids. They wonder why certain sexual positions they can't stay in for very long. The wife gets tired of sitting on top all the time, fellas. Trust me on this. So the posterior chain is something we have to get strong. These are the biggest muscles on your body. We need them to support you. A weak posterior chain can lead to injury, and then later in life, we've got less chance of recovering from those injuries. You could end up in a really bad physical position, and we don't want that. So your posterior chain movements is variations of deadlifts, RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, hyperextensions if you have the option to do so. Reverse hyperextensions are even more incredible. Anything that trains those glutes, so hip thrusts, hamstring curls, lower back extensions or static holds. Those done in the same style as the indicator lift, getting slightly heavy, maybe a little back offset, or varying what you do every 3 to 6 weeks is what's going to help you build a strong, robust, capable posterior chain. That's also going to help support your fat loss efforts. Trust me on this, fellas. Ladies love it when your butt looks pretty good. And then you've got time at the end to train some arms, train some abs. Neither of those things are essential with the other exercises that you're doing earlier in the session. But I think most guys avoid this type of work. Carries, capacity work, sled pushes, sled pulls. Things that have massive carryover to the rest of your life. Picking up your kids, carrying them for a while, pushing things, pushing your car. How many people I've seen recently where the car's broken down and have to get a lot of people to help. And really it should only take, 2, 3 tops. So push things, pull things, pick things up, carry them for distance, carry them for time, put them down again, have a little breather, go again. These things not only just work your heart and your lungs, but they work all the smaller muscle groups as well. The supporting structural muscles in your knees, your hips, your lower back, and it gives you some insane confidence that there's nothing in the rest in your day-to-day life that you can't pick up and carry somewhere when it needs to be moved. Suddenly moving house becomes easier. Suddenly you're the one your friends want to call on. Suddenly you're the one your neighbour's wife calls you to come around and do a DIY task. And that feels pretty incredible, no matter how angry your neighbour might get at you. So remember, strength isn't built in the session, but the session decides if you can build strength. And if your volume is too high, you are limiting your chances of doing that. Rule number 2 is intensity over exhaustion. Now, the word intensity gets twisted and misunderstood. When I say intensity, I don't mean that you're sweating, you're shaking, you're throwing up at the end of the session, you're red in the face, you leave a sweat angel on the floor or on the bench that's got the imprint of your t-shirt, whatever it says on the back. That's not intensity. That's intense, but it's not training intensity. That can lead to exhaustion. I may mention CrossFit in a few too many of my videos, and I don't want to share in it too much because I think it's great for building a community and for challenging yourself, but it is limited with how most of the general population can progress in the CrossFit sphere. If you want to argue with that, then please answer why the top CrossFit athletes in the world don't train like the general population CrossFitters do. You know, it doesn't add up. But we don't want to go into the gym and just beat yourself up. It may look cool in an Instagram reel with some dramatic music and a rocky monologue over the top. Trying to do fat burning workouts or 500 to 700 calorie workouts at a time are destroying your chance of recovering in between each session. And like I've already said, that's where the magic happens. It's the recovery, not what's happening in the session. When I talk about training intensity, I'm not talking about chaos and sweat. I'm talking about proximity to failure. Training to failure means getting that weight to a point where you cannot lift it anymore. Let's say you're doing your push-pull superset and you've got your heavy set of 8 for dumbbell press. If you can do the 9th and the 10th and the 11th, whatever weight you've got there is not taking you to failure where you want to be. But if you are struggling around about rep 6, rep 7's a little bit ropey, rep 8 really took some effort and a few prayers and turned in the volume up in your headphones, then that is training towards failure. But for the general population who haven't trained much before, trying to get to that level straight away can lead to injury, can lead to under recovery again, and can lead to some gnarly accidents that we don't want. You have to not only just earn your volume, like I said in rule 1, but earn the weight that you are training with. Earn the training intensity. And this will come over time, and it won't take long to do so. So proximity to failure. To start off with, I would say you leave 1 to 2 reps in the tank. You get that 8th rep, you probably could have got a 9th, 10th might have been questionable. But if you get to that 8th rep and you know you could have done 5 to 6 more, then it's way too light. You're not training anywhere near to failure. You're not going to get that training and hormonal response that you want to build and maintain your muscle. And trying to do too many sets whilst you're training to failure is not going to help you recover either. 1 set to failure is enough. 2 sets to failure has very, very positive returns. Beyond that, you're just risking your chance of injury, you're just creating more damage to your muscles, which can lead to more soreness, and you are limiting your capacity to recover once you leave the gym. Strong first set, and then you can move on to your next exercise. Now, this may sound like it's not enough. It may sound like, hang on, I've read Flex magazine, even though it doesn't exist anymore, and Jay Cutler was doing 10 sets of 10. Cool, that's for Jay Cutler, that's not for the rest of us. We have a limited amount of time, we have a limited amount of training reserves, and you're on a GLP-1. You have a limited amount of fuel in your system to be able to support long mammoth workouts. So let's play to your strengths with what you've got, and let's work on your weaknesses, which is the amount of muscle you got and the amount of weight that you can lift. 1 strong set, 2 strong sets, job done, move on to the next exercise. Because it is very possible to train yourself deep into the ground if you haven't got the calories in your system to lift you back up and recover for the next session so you can do it again. Rule number 3 is to train the signal. What do I mean by that? I mean sending the right signal to your body to build and maintain on the muscle mass that you've got, so we don't lose it whilst on these GLP-1s or dieting aggressively. By the end of the session, your body doesn't care how tired you are or how many people patted you on the back because of the amount of weight that you lifted. It cares what you've told the muscle to do. It cares what you've told your metabolism to do. By the end of that session, you should have told your muscle and your metabolism to burn the fat, keep the muscle. And that continues once you've left the gym with your sleep, your stress management, and your nutritional intake. Your muscle is maintained by tension applied consistently over time. So that means lifting weights, whether that is commercial gym, home gym, or some sort of other thing that puts tension through your muscles. Like I said, with my friend who does rock climbing, I think that's a great way of applying tension to your muscles. Have you seen some of those rock climbers' backs? They are incredible. They look like gorillas. There are guys who train in the gym for years and don't look like that. It is not maintained by sweating, by looking at your Apple Watch that told you just burnt 700 calories, by doing a new CrossFit Hero workout, by posting your workout on Instagram, by how sore you are 2 days after leaving the gym, or even how long you've trained for, such as 90 minutes. Things aren't going to build muscle. Effective, smart, yet hard training, building on the principles I've already told you so far, and there's a couple more to go, is what's going to help you build and maintain muscle so you've got the frame you want. Rule number 4, which I cannot repeat enough, is to recover like it matters. Sleep 7 hours a night if you can, 8 hours ideally. If you have the opportunity to do 9, I'm extremely jealous of you, but that's going to work wonders in terms of your hormonal health, your mood, and your ability to lose fat whilst you're on these GLP-1s and recover in between training sessions. If you don't have the option to do that, quality will then not beat quantity, but that's the thing that you have within your control. So what can you do to improve your sleep? That means getting off your phone an hour before you go to bed. That means nothing in the bedroom except your bed. Your bed is for sleep and sex, not for watching Netflix marathons, not for having other types of tech in there, not for staying up all night scrolling on your phone, which is just going to wreck your circadian rhythm, and you're not going to sleep as well, and you're going to want to eat more the next day, and you're going to be tired. Stress matters as well. Your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and adrenaline can blunt the hormones that you need elevated to build muscle and burn fat. So if you're mega stressed, if your colleagues are pissing you off, if your wife's pissing you off, if the things you're reading on social media are pissing you off, something needs to change. You can manage your stress by limiting your amount of contact with the things that piss you off the most. It doesn't mean you have to sit on a cushion in purple robes for 90 minutes and meditate. Nothing to do with tantric wanking or anything like that. Just limiting your stress through breathing techniques, through changing your focus, through giving yourself the ability to pause and reflect how you are reacting in that certain situation. Your protein quality matters, not just the amount of protein you're having, but the sources that you're getting it from. Ideally, in a perfect world, we'd be getting them from lean meats, from fatty meats, from clean vegetable protein sources such as lentil beans, legumes, or however you pronounce that word, Greek yogurts, protein shakes, those things. We want to limit processed. So you don't want to be eating processed meats. You don't want to be getting your protein really from anything that has protein on the label, apart from shakes. If you look at your protein shake, the ingredients list, you want there to be as few things in that list as possible. The cleaner the shake, the better it's going to be, the more protein you're going to absorb from it. The more junk and filler that's in there, the lower the quality protein is, and you're not going to get the benefit from it. Protein bars as a last resort. They're not amazing. And then bottom of the tier is all your protein yogurts, puddings, things like that. I don't think these things are particularly great because they're not really coming from the cleanest, most absorbable protein sources like whey. Your steps matter, your daily activity. Doesn't mean you have to do 10,000 steps plus every single day. You just have to move more than what you were previously doing. If you do track your step count for a week, 2 weeks, and the average is 3,000 to 5,000, you could class yourself as a sedentary individual. You're not moving. You're not getting any activity outside of the gym that will cause you to burn fat and stabilize your hormones and support this GLP-1 journey. You are wasting your time. You are sitting down all day. You might as well just sit down all day. 7,000 steps a day, we're slightly more active. That's the baseline I'd want everyone to be at. If you want to shorten the time frame of which you lose weight in, we would increase the amount of steps that you're doing. I've had clients in 12-week fat loss transformations that were hitting 20,000 steps a day. On a GLP-1, you're not going to have the energy to do that. You may not even have the time to do that if you're a busy guy in your 40s, run your own business, or working for a big company, you've got a team underneath you, you've got kids to play with at the end of the night. 20,000 steps, kind of unrealistic. Say it again, the balance between building strength or burning out lies in the recovery between your training sessions. And finally, rule number 5, consistency beats hero workouts. It might be great to open Men's Health and Men's Fitness and see the Henry Cavill Superman workout, which I'll tell you now is never actually the Henry Cavill Superman workout. It may be great to try and do what the 300 actors did years ago, or the latest Thor workout, or whatever actor is currently shredded in his latest movie. Most of the time what you're reading on those magazines isn't actually the workout they're doing, but it kind of sells you the idea that if you do that workout, you're going to get that body. Sadly, bit of a lie, but hopefully you can see through that and you know this already. But mammoth workouts in the gym, whether that is 2 to 3 CrossFit workouts strung together, whether that is the latest hero workout in men's health that month that changes the next month. Jumping from thing to thing like this is not going to build you the body that you want. Sadly, boring builds you the body that you want. That means the right workout for you, depending on what gym you have access to, depending on what kit you have access to, depending on what time you have available, done consistently 2 to 3 times a week, following the principles that I said earlier of progressive overload, a little bit more weight, a little bit more reps, varying the exercise so you keep giving your body something it has to adapt to, done over a long period of time. It's going to build the muscle that you want to build, maintain the frame that you've got underneath those GLP-1s, help support the fat loss that you're going to get from these GLP-1s, boost your mood, boost your hormones, and leave you feeling amazing 3 to 6 months down the line. That's what we're looking for, right? That's why we go to the gym. That's why you've gone on these GLP-1s to begin with, right? Why would you want any other outcome at the end? You don't want to look skinny fat. You don't want to be weak. You don't want to have wasted the amount of time and money you've potentially invested into your time whilst taking these medications. If you have any other questions on this, then jump in the comments below. If you want any clarification on the points I've made so far, or even some examples, then my DMs are always open. The comments are always open. I'm always up for a conversation. I'm always up to hear what's working for you or other questions that you may have. But there's something else you can do as well. If you jump in the caption below or in the link in my bio, you'll be able to join the Age Proof Weekly Dose, which is my email I send out every week that gives you the latest information on GLP-1s to support your journey, to make sure we're not missing anything. Extra information on how you can support your journey through lifestyle, the right training, the right nutrition. Stories from my own life and successful client wins that we're currently seeing. I mean, simple training plans, no punishing workouts, just the right information for guys over 40 on GLP-1s or considering going on them to make sure you live the rest of your life happy, healthy, high sex drive, inspiring father, being able to play with your kids, and the type of guy that people want to be around and be with.